gets for that introduction. Of all the introductions I've ever had, that's the most recent. Anyway. Senator Grassley, it's great to be with you this evening. He's busy talking like normal over there, but if there was ever any doubt about him being cheap, forget it. He is cheap, and in every way, shape. Let me, first of all, before I forget, and I have to introduce my wife, Kathy. Seems like about the only time we get together these days are going to chili supper someplace, so that's great. First of all, to all you folks here, and you know, Becky, everybody who does such an unbelievable job in Hamilton County supporting the candidates here. You know, the last election, if you listened to the Des Moines or read the Des Moines Register, which I would maybe advise you don't have to do that, but I was gone as far as they were concerned, and this young lady from Dallas County was going to be your congressperson. And I think they were as shocked as everyone else when it ended up that we ended up with 61% of the vote last time, 4 points higher than the year before, and this was in the Obama tidal wave, which he carried easily in this congressional district. Senator Harkin carried was 65%. So to get 61 against the wave is very good, and it's not because of me, it's all because of you folks. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and Kathy and I both do, for all of the hard work, the support in every way that you gave us last time, because it wasn't easy, but in the end it turned out to be a great, great result. Senator Grassley talked about what's going on in Washington. Let me just say, you know, we were voting last night. It was 11:30 on the final passage of the Pelosi health care takeover bill. And just so you know, folks know what it is, it's $1.2 trillion. $1.2 trillion that this bill is going to cost. The interesting part, I think, as far as what the effect it's going to have is that the taxes start right away, but there's no coverage for 4 years. So what they're saying that this is going to be budget neutral, as if it's free. I mean, it's going to cost somebody, but the taxes start right away, no coverages start for 4 years, and so what you're paying for in 10 years is going to cover 6 years. So what that does 10 years out, it becomes a $2 trillion bill, and it's going to add dramatically to our national debt. There's no question about it. And when you look at what has happened this year, since the environment of change has moved into Washington, D.C., we have spent $787 billion on a stimulus bill that the president at that time promised unemployment would not go above 8%. He said that, you know, if we don't do this, unemployment might get up to 9.8%. So now it's 10.2%. We have spent all of this money. Each job created in this congressional district cost $351,000. I mean, you talk about a government that is not knowing what they're doing. The money was spent on more and more government, 70 government programs, 31 new government programs in that stimulus bill. They're called temporary, and the most permanent thing in Washington, D.C. is a temporary program, I can assure you. But that's why it hasn't worked, because it doesn't do anything to create jobs. And all it's going to do is raise interest rates in the future. It's going to have inflation. And if you're a small business person today, and that is the engine of what job creation is in this country, certainly in this state where 75% of the new jobs are in small business, what you're looking at is higher interest rates, inflation in the future. You're looking at higher utility costs because of cap and trade that they've passed. You're looking at new mandates on you as far as this health care bill is concerned, and you're not going to hire more people knowing that you're going to be punished for doing it. And it's as simple as that. People are simply not going to expand in an economy where they know they're going to be punished. You know, they passed the cap and trade bill, which is going to increase utility rates 20 to 25% in this state. It'll cost us 17,000 jobs a year each of the next 20 years. Nationwide, about 2.5 million jobs a year each of the next 20 years. And that is supposed to be progress, apparently. What people are going to be fleeing this country for jobs. And when you look at what happened right here in Webster City, that is the perfect example of these type of policies that are driving businesses out of the United States elsewhere. We have the second highest corporate tax rate in the world. We pay just as much to comply with regulations in this country as what we do in taxes for businesses. We have the most litigation. We have the happiest trial lawyers in the world right here in this country. That's what's driving people out of this country as far as jobs. We're going to end up with a total service industry where we're each going to be selling each other insurance and call that prosperity. I mean, it is not going to work. And that's why we've got to put the brakes on what's going on in Washington. Nancy Pelosi and her crowd in the House of Representatives are totally out of control, totally irresponsible. We've had a $1.42 trillion annual deficit this year. And like Senator Grassley said, in 10 years, our national debt is going to be over $20 trillion. We cannot sustain that. You know, for a lot of us, we probably won't be around to have to pay the bill, but our kids and our grandchildren are the ones that are going to get hung on this, and our great-great-grandchildren all the way down the line. So we have got to stand up and say no. You know, the vote last night the only bipartisan part of it was the vote against it. When you look at it, because they let so many of the more, quote, conservative Democrats off the hook to vote against it. But I will tell you, it's going to be Nancy Pelosi's health care takeover bill. We're going to have a great opportunity next fall to change the direction in Washington. I think we can win back the majority and make John Boehner the Speaker of the House, and none of this type of policies will ever see the light of day as far as being on the floor. You know, we can have an agenda next year that is positive. We have to also be the party of better solutions. When we look at, you know, cap and trade as far as energy, let's go out and do the renewables. Let's do wind, solar, ethanol, soy diesel, biomass. Let's conserve. It's a good idea. It saves us money. It's good for the economy. Let's do those things. But let's also go after the vast resources that we have in this country, whether it be oil, gas, nuclear energy, that is the most environmentally friendly way of generating electricity there is. Let's be the party of a positive solution. When we look at health care, let's focus in on the people who need help as far as purchasing health care today. And there's about 7 to 10 million Americans who would purchase health care today if in fact they could afford it. And what you need to do is focus on that problem. Allow people to purchase insurance across state lines. Have association health care plans where individuals and businesses, small business, can join together and bargain nationally. If we need to have some help for the folks in lower income that can't afford it, we can do that. But we don't need to have the government come in between you and your doctor and have a bureaucrat in Washington making decisions that should be made at the doctor's office and not in some room in Washington, D.C. I don't know if you're aware of this health care bill, that there are individual mandates on this. You have to buy health insurance today under this bill. If you don't, you could be punished, fined $25,000 to $250,000, and you can also go to jail because you decided not to purchase health insurance. Can you believe what our government has come to? If you're going to go to jail because you decide not to purchase the kind of a health care policy that some bureaucrat in Washington says that you should have, they're totally beyond any kind of rational thought. I mean, it is not what this country is about. We've got to have principles based on freedom, liberty, democracy, what has made this country great. And just in closing, I want to say this week we're going to celebrate Veterans Day. And everything that those people have fought for and that we honor next Wednesday, we should remember what they fought for and why. That these are exactly the kind of freedoms that are being taken away from us today in Washington, that they stood and lost their lives and gave their blood for. And we cannot forget how serious this is. That's why people are as upset as they are. They're scared to death. And that's why we are going to have a tremendous victory next year, because they're totally out of control, out of touch. And Nancy Pelosi is going to go back to San Francisco. Hopefully not even the minority leader, but just home to retire. So anyway, thank you all very much.